How do you guys define intimacy, particularly in the context of marriage?
Yeah. So we would say that intimacy is a trip inside of each other, and it's a sharing of what that is. It
Mm.
has to be of something that's going on the inside. And, even the beginning when God said it's not good for man to be alone, we think that means proximity. But there's lots of people that have proximity to one another that
Yeah,
still feel very alone.
for sure.
And that's kind of where we were. And so it's a trip inside, and it's also knowing what our beliefs are, our feelings, our desires. It's being fully known. And I think that that idea of fully known really starts addressing our biggest fear. And it was mine, because of this whole time I'm living this immoral lifestyle. But we don't have an intimacy. I mean, we're doing a lot of stuff together, but I'm afraid of letting her really know me,
Mm.
because if she does, she might not love me.
And I think it went both ways too. I mean, in the 28 years that we had been married, I did not want him to see all the, dents and scratches on me
Mm.
of what life had thrown at me and my upbringing or just the pain and the hurt from my singleness. So I didn't want him to see who I was inside.
So if you look at our life during this 28 years, we had a lot of activity, but I would say really not much intimacy
Mm.
in that. And what we started learning is that, there's a verse in, I think it's First Samuel, that says, man looks on the outward appearance and God looks at the heart.
Yep.
And we started praying that we would see each other and others like God sees them. And he says that we are open and laid bare to him. And so that's what we really started doing, is we started asking God to help us see what was on the inside.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we've talked about it on a number of episodes, just how intimacy is so misunderstood that really when people think of intimacy, they think of sex primarily, which again would talk about what you just said, that activity does not equal intimacy. You can be having sex all of the time and it's great and you are experiencing pleasure together, but that doesn't mean intimacy is actually happening.
Right.
Right. It's more of a connection, right? I mean, we can have a connection through sports, intellectually, we can have a connection. And sometimes, you look that up on Google and they equate that to intimacy.
Mm.
But we see intimacy as being something so much more deeper of knowing who we are in the inside that no one else knows.
Mm.
And it's opening yourself up and being bare in front of each other. And, I will tell you, like we mentioned that we're working with some singles, and what we have realized is that single people really are surprised at this message because it hasn't been talked about.
Yeah.
Not even with premarital stuff, right? You don't talk about, hey, you need to bear yourself one. You need to be so open that your spouse, who you're going on a journey with for a lifetime, will know you in the deepest part of who you are.
Mm.
They will know all your pains and all the weaknesses that you have and all your strengths, that they will be there walking side by side with you. And this is how God intended us to be.
Hmm.
And not this, because we were so superficial, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we dated and came through the whole religious thing of, save yourself for marriage and all that stuff, right?
Well,
But
Priscilla saved herself. I didn't save her. I just want to be clear on that. So,
Yeah.
but the thing is that we're not really prepared to take this journey with someone else and say, this is a person who you will be so open with that no one will know you like this person will.
Mhm.
yeah, it really is a journey. We think it happens in three areas: it's a spirit, a soul, and a body experience.
Mhm.
And I understood body. I understood a little bit of soul, the mind, the will, and the emotions. I did not understand the spiritual part of it at all, even though we were really religious people.
Yeah.
If you would have seen us, you would have thought we were the most religious people you know. But it was all a lot of hypocrisy and self-righteousness. It really, really was.
It was a mask.
It was a mask, and it did not produce the intimacy
Yes.
with us or with other people.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that you've connected our lack of intimacy to that idea of fear, that what keeps us from being more intimate in our marriage relationship is often fear. fear of rejection, fear of being known, fear of embarrassment, fear, all these different fears. And why I think that's important is because if we can identify that one of the reasons I'm not experiencing intimacy in my marriage is because of fear, then like in any area of life, we don't want fear to drive us. And we think often of we need to face our fear, and with God and others walk into those areas, because if we just turn away from the fear, it's actually running our life in the background. And so I think for many people, that may be a starting point of just some self-awareness, and maybe with trusted friends to say, the reason I'm not more open, the reason I don't bare my soul with my spouse is because I'm afraid. I have a lot of fear around what that will do or feel like. And then asking for others to help you process that fear so that you can begin to lean into intimacy.
Yeah, Nick, it's interesting in our journey. We had a disclosure point like many guys do that are involved in this, but that was not the most fearful part of the journey. I mean, it was fearful. It was terrible, right? But walking back to things that had happened earlier in my life, even getting back to as a childhood, we always talk about it as our take it to the grave list. I had three things on my take it to the grave list, and to tell her about that stuff, I couldn't even hardly talk. And so we got to a place where the Lord convinced me that if I really wanted to be fully known by Priscilla, I was going to have to tell her. And so I couldn't hardly talk. Do you remember that, Priscilla?
That's right. He was just like, his lips were quivering, and he just wanted to get something else, but he just couldn't, And, and at that moment, after he told me his take it to the grave list, it was, the Holy Spirit just said, Priscilla, you need to tell him yours. Don't let this moment pass without you saying, I have something to share too.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to see how God came in and worked in that area of our life, but also the coincidence of us having the same thing.
So the three things on my take it to the grave list were the same three things on her take it to the grave list.
That I didn't want to tell us.
And see what the enemy tells you in the middle of this and evaluating your shame is you are the only person that deals with this.
Yeah.
Instead of it being common, which is what it says in 1 Corinthians 10:13, we believe we are weird and perverted and unusual.
Right.
And if we say this, they won't love me or respect me. And it keeps it all buried.